Hello and welcome to Hardy Party 5 1/2.
Welcome.
Rebecca, how are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. I am gearing up for a cook-off with that chef from Next Level Chef.
Oh yeah? Next Level Chef is my favorite cooking show.
Is it?
Oh yeah, can't get enough of it.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, if you don't know what Next Level Chef is, here's what it is. It is a cooking competition with three very amazing famous judges, one of those being Gordon Ramsay, the well-known Gordon Ramsay, and then two other judges, Chef Blaze and Chef Arrington. Basically, there's platforms and the food comes down and you're in like a top kitchen or you're in a middle kitchen or you're in the basement where there's not even a blender and you have to figure out how to blend things up with a whisk and a fork.
So it's kind of like our kitchen, the bottom basement. Okay.
That's why I'm gonna do so good at this.
Yes.
So anyhow, then the platform comes down, the contestants race over, they get the food they're gonna have to prepare, and they race back over. They have like 30 minutes to cook something amazing, and they're trying to get out of the bottom kitchen. Basically, that's it.
And I love it because unlike most cooking shows where the judges they're kind of tearing the chefs down in most shows. But I feel like in this show, they're mentoring them and coaching them, and it just has a better vibe for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we are fortunate enough to have Angie Ragan from season 1. She was a semifinalist. If you haven't watched it, go back and watch it. And let us know if you think she should have picked the lobster. And you'll know what I mean if you've watched it. And we got to interview her. Y'all, she's my person. Like, I think that she is my person in chef form, and I can't wait for you guys to meet her too. Here's our interview with Angie Ragan. Angie Ragan, thank you for joining Hardy Party of 5 1/2. We've been looking forward to talking to you for like weeks now. I can't believe I feel like I'm meeting a new best friend. I'm so excited to meet you. And we loved watching you on Next Level Chef. What a great job you did, by the way. We're going to get into some...
Oh, thank you. I'm excited to meet you guys too. I've loved all our correspondence, and I've been really, really excited about this morning. I'm looking forward to seeing y'all face to face and get to chat.
I know. Me too. So, but first, let's go back to the beginning. When did you start loving to cook, and how do you decide to make that like your career choice?
Well, it's been a lifelong thing in the making. So my grandmother was a chef. She owned Colonial Kitchen in Lubbock. And she worked 30 years at a restaurant called Aztec Inn here. And then she started her own restaurant, and she's an amazing chef. And I grew up on those countertops, and I grew up with her putting food in my mouth and going, what does that taste like? Her putting cinnamon on my tongue and going, that's cinnamon. And this is where it hits your palate. And then she'd mix 5 spices and put it on my tongue and go, what 5 spices are in there? And so that was my whole life. That's how I grew up. Wow. And, all families are a little bit dysfunctional, or ours was. But the one thing we all did well was we cooked, and we didn't eat out a lot. And when we did eat out, it was a really good restaurant, and we had wine, and we tasted the food, and we talked about the food. And it was just the culture of my family. And my dad is an entrepreneur and has several businesses, but always a chef. And then same way with my brother, same with my sister, my nephew, my niece, they're chefs. So we all do other things. I'm the only one that took it to where my grandmother took it. When she sold Colonial Kitchen, then she started catering. And then there I was, my little 10-year-old self, just catering with her. And she catered for the governor. And I've known how to cut a cake since I was like 12. And, it was the 80s, so I looked 25. So I was allowed to work, Yeah. So that's just that's who we are. We have a genetic super palate. And so we taste better and smell better than most people. So I can reverse engineer things that I eat. I can tell exactly what's in it.
I wish I had this power.
Yeah, I can taste wine and tell you what was in the ground that the grapes grew in. Like I'm one of those people that can decipher flavors and sound and flavors and taste. And then I have another, it sometimes can be a disability, but I have synesthesia. So all my senses fire at once. So when I taste something, I see colors and shapes and images. Oh, and so not only do I taste things extraordinarily well, but I see things when I taste things. And so when I want to get back to something, and when I'm creating and I'm curating a dish and I start tasting, I want the certain kind of red with spikes, and I want it to move to the left. And so I have this whole weird I have it makes me a weird person. I have ADHD, I have dyslexia, and then I have sensory overload. And so it really took me until I was about 36 or 37 to be able to focus in and really learn how to live with what these things, this oversensory that I have. I actually struggled as a young adult, finding my purpose and blocking out all the extra sensory stuff, and you just overloaded. And so, but yeah, so I grew up chefing, and I was a nurse and a first responder, and I've had an amazing first career, doing amazing things. But then when I really got old enough, and I guess you kind of change, your hormones change, your chemistry's changed, and I started being able to focus these what were disabilities into talents. That's when I was like, I just want to do this for a living. Like, I want to, this is what, and I honestly, because the way we grew up, didn't know how well I cooked. My whole family cooks this way. Like, and then we compete. We're all competitive. We're all entrepreneurs. We're all very competitive, like mean competitive. We're going to win. And so like my dad lives on our family ranch. And when he built his huge, big barndominium to retire in, he built a venue with a commercial kitchen in it. And so we can have parties down there. But really what we do is the whole family shows up for Thanksgiving, and we say, well, I can cook a better prime rib than you. Well, then let's all bring prime rib. And so all of a sudden we have like 4 prime ribs that we're cooking and smoking. He's smoking and I'm in the oven. And then for Thanksgiving, we have all this food because we all want to show off and compete with each other.
That is awesome. I want to go to Thanksgiving.
I know.
So our family does cupcake wars every year. So even all our kids, everybody's always competed, and we call in a judge. We've done a couple of off of the British Bake Off that have called in and FaceTimed in and like looked at our cupcakes to judge them by obviously just looks. And then we have the surrounding neighbors come in and like give us a taste challenge, like try to decide that. But anyhow, what a gift you have.
I mean, you really do need to intimidate the neighbors. You do. I think intimidation, making them vote for you, is absolutely.
100%. And listen, I'm a hairdresser, so if I can
mess
get
up
my
their hair
in the game, then it's just
Slip a little something under the table.
They know who holds the scissors.
Yeah. Exactly.
You literally have a superpower though, because when I eat something, I would like when you watch the cooking shows and the people are like, "Oh, I can taste this, and now this and this," and I'm like, it just tastes good or bad to me. I don't.
Yeah.
There's
so
nothing.
That's 80% of people. 80% of people are just your normal, and you're like, hey, it's good, or hey, that's not so good. 10% of people don't really have much of a taste at all. Like they struggle to smell and to taste accurately. Those people, you'll notice, like things very, very sweet, very, very salty, and hot. Have you ever known somebody who eats their food too hot? Like it's the right temperature, but then they want it in the microwave. Or the coffee is perfect, but they want it scalding. So that's 10% of people who have less of a, but then there's the 10% that are like me, and it's genetic. We have smaller and more taste buds than most people. And then we understand, and then there's muscle memory. So we practice it. So people can have a super palate, but if they smoke, suck on certs, eat at McDonald's all the time, they actually can undo that nerve muscle connection, and they might not know they're super palates. So I actually was taught at a very early age to protect my palate. So I don't suck on candy. I don't eat things that are too hot. I don't smoke anything that, and I don't eat bad food. And every once in a while, when you have to eat bad food, you have to train yourself. It's just like a pitcher in baseball. A pitcher would never throw a ball wrong, even if he was just playing with his kid, because there's a muscle memory. There's a nerve connection. So if I have to run through Taco Villa or McDonald's because I'm starving, I would never tell myself that tastes good. When I eat it so that I don't pass out, I'll be like, well, that is what it is. And that's fine. It serves a purpose, and because we have to eat. But you never, I catch people a lot, and I have to educate people a lot on this. I catch people eating stuff and going, oh, that's good. And I'm like, no, it's not. Don't tell yourself that. Spit it out. Spit it out. Don't swallow something that's not good. Don't make your kids eat things that they don't like. That's terrible. It's not good. Spit it out. Or if you have to eat it for sustenance, like, if you have a protein bar or something, and it's not that great, but you need the protein, just say it is what it is. Teach that this is nourishment. It doesn't taste good.
That's so.
Don't lie to yourself.
I feel like we talked about this yesterday, and I feel like we've done a little bit of that because we are kind of foodies. We like to go try the local farm table restaurants and such around here. And I was just telling him yesterday, I'm like, we know when we go to McDonald's, or even honestly, just even from some of the chain sit down,
Yeah.
restaurants, that I'm like, this is really not good. Like when we went there for the first 20 years of our marriage, thinking that was
Oh,
the
this is
best
good,
burger we've
yeah.
ever had.
But not really.
And now I think that we've gone and done other things, and
Yeah.
we've traveled a lot more around the world and just eating better food. And so now we're like,
Yeah.
it's not good at all. Like,
So you've taught yourself, you've retrained the muscle neuron connection between your tongue and your brain. And I love it when that happens. I love it when people start getting outside their box and going, oh, wait, this is, and I do that. I have my oldest child. He's a lot like me, and he cooks, and he's got a great palate. My youngest child would eat Taco Bell and Wendy's and mac and cheese, not my mac and cheese, Hormel mac and cheese. I'm just going to give you the truth here. We're going to be authentic. We've struggled with his palate. He's a very bland palate. That's just what he likes. And I would never in a million years feed somebody something they didn't like. So I'm a different parent that way. But he's just now, he's 13, getting adventurous and going, okay, I'll try that shrimp. Okay, I'll try that sticky rib. And then he's starting to really like things. And we just slowly train that palate. And I love it when people do that. I love it when they realize that it is a muscle. And we can train ourselves to be better, better, and better.
Yeah. Well, I didn't realize it was a muscle, but I do think we've retrained ourselves.
Yes.
But I don't.
We have a better life now.
Yeah, we have a better life.
Yeah.
Good.
I'm good at like what he was talking about, and like kind of what you're talking about. It's like when some of those judges would say it hits something on the back end, or it's sweet on this end, or like what I don't understand is how the flavors hit at different times. I think that's probably like can't.
Yeah, let me explain it to you, and then I'm going to explain a thing that you can make at home and test me on this. So one of the things really interesting when you're cooking is people love salt and pepper. Like we're going to always season with salt and pepper. Well, I hate black pepper. I don't use black pepper. I smell the chemical in it. It smells like urine. So anytime somebody like puts a lot of black pepper on my food and then either burns it or they just have a lot of black pepper, immediately when it comes to the table, I can smell the urine. And I can't. Black pepper has a chemical in it that is the same as urea. And a lot of people who have extra smelling and tasting can taste that. They don't like black pepper. But peppers change what your food tastes like, and salt enhances what your food tastes like. So if you made something that sucks and you add salt to it, it's going to suck more. Now, if you make something and you're like, man, that don't taste too well, what could I do to improve it? Peppers. So any pepper from anywhere in the world, the dry peppers, fresh peppers, whatever you want to use, pepper changes how something tastes. Okay. So the next thing I'm going to teach you is when you eat salsa, and this is, a lot of times on the judges, you see the judges say, well, that was one note. That was a note. People don't know what they mean. That means every time they took a bite, it hit the same spot on your tongue, and then nothing else changed. And then they took another bite, hit the same spot, one note. It was so here's the juxtaposition. When I make a spaghetti sauce, just like a marinara sauce, I start off with oil. I layer in some garlic and some rosemary fresh, and I infuse that oil, and then I put in my tomatoes and really get a good sear. But then I'm going to add in some dry garlic and some granulated garlic and some dry herbs. I'm going to add some white wine. So I start building the different things that hit your tongue in a different way, all the way from the front to the back to the sides. Yeah. But if you were to go buy a jar of Prego, there's nothing wrong with a jar of Prego. It eats. It's great. Kids love it, but it's one note.
Okay.
It tastes the same every time you scoop in, and it hits it's one note.
Speaking of notes, I didn't
I know
because
I expect a challenger. so that's what they mean by one note. Now, when you make a salsa, if all you do is put a jalapeno in it, it's going to be spicy. It's going to be good, but that jalapeno hits one spot. That's how peppers work. Yeah. It hits that one spot. It's a certain heat, and it hits at a certain time, because peppers have the oil in it that I think it's casein is what it's called. Mm-hmm. And that's the heat that goes into your nerves. Well, there's different oil levels and there's different heat levels. So they hit at a different time. But if you make your salsa and you put in a jalapeno and a habanero, well, habanero hits in the back and habanero hits later than a jalapeno. Now, what if you put in some cayenne? Cayenne hits about 3 seconds after you swallow it. So now you've had salsa and the jalapeno hit the front real quick, the habanero hit the back slower, and then you think you're done eating and the cayenne kicks in the back of your throat.
Wow.
Interesting. So I do have a pretty famous salsa recipe that people ask me for all the time. It does not
Me
have
too, my friend.
Okay, I'm looking forward to compare notes. But I don't like spicy. So actually, I think they could probably stand it more spicy, and I don't use all the peppers, but I might have to try that for you guys. So I do jalapeno, but I also do like a Truvia packet is what I put in there, like so maybe I get a little sweet and hot.
Yeah, I've had, what's really good for people that, so I even have a salsa that I put a California Reaper in, and it's not too spicy. You have to ratio it out, but you just want that tingle on your tongue from the front to the back.
Yeah.
And what you do when you cook something and you make it have, it either goes up into your nasal passages, like a good goat cheese hits late. That's called unctuousness, because you think you're done eating and you've swallowed it and you're like, oh, I'm gonna have a sip of the champagne, and all of a sudden what you just ate hits your jaws or up in your nose again, and you think, God, I need another bite of that. So that's unctuousness. If you get things too spicy, it can't be unctuous. But if you get that pepper and that spice just right, and it hits all along your palate, and it kind of makes your jaws water. Have you ever had something just the right amount of acid that makes your jaws water? That's called unctuousness, and it makes you want to eat again. But you know what's good in salsa for people that don't like spicy? Do you put a little bit of bell pepper in it, like a yellow bell pepper?
No, but I could try that.
Roast a yellow bell pepper, and just add that to your current recipe and see if you like that little bit of sweet.
Okay. Yeah, I do. I think one of the things I put in there, which you might not actually like at all if you don't like pepper, but lemon pepper is kind of was what I put in my salsa. I think it kind of changes something about it that I think that's kind of the unusual thing. Like most people don't put lemon pepper.
Well, you're adding acid. That lemon adds that papa acid.
Yeah.
I can stand a little bit of black pepper and stuff. Just
when we meet in person, I'll bring you a little jar.
Okay, I'll bring you some of mine too. In 2019, the first competition I ever won, I won best overall salsa here in Lubbock at the Llano Winery. I was the only white girl, and it was a real upset.
Real upset.
It was not okay.
That's hilarious.
Okay,
I love it.
speaking of, my new favorite word is unctuousness, even though I can't think. Unctuous, I can't even say it.
It's unctuous. It means, ooh, I want some more.
Yeah.
Okay.
I love it. Because I know exactly what she's talking about when your jaw.
Oh,
I've never thought about it that way.
I never realized what was happening.
I love it. Yeah. That's
so
great.
Speaking of competition, you were on Top Level Chef.
Next Level Chef.
Next Level Chef. I put Top.
Smack him, girl. Smack him.
I put them all together. Next Level Chef. I always put that. Which we love. I love this show.
It's an amazing competition. It's brutal.
It really is.
It's fun.
It's awesome. I love to see y'all struggle because I struggle like that in the kitchen all the time. So tell us, like, how do you end up getting on the show, and what was it like to meet? Because the three judges are like powerhouse.
Oh my gosh,
industry.
They're phenomenal. It was really, gosh, it was just breathtaking for me, because I am just I was trained by my grandmother, and then I really believe in education. So I follow Wolfgang Puck. I'm a student of him. I'm a student of Gordon, Alton Brown. Like, I've always just been, and because I am dyslexic, I'm a TV person. So I love TV. It relaxes me, keeps me from having to read. and so my whole life studied Food Network, but especially the Gordon Ramsay, Naisha Arrington, Richard Blaze. They were all just in my poof. These are Wolfgang Puck. They're all just who I want to train under. And I've done all their master classes, and I practice. That's the thing with cooking, is practice. But I applied. We had a rainy day at the beach. It was right after you could start going places with COVID, after COVID. And we were down at where were we? South Padre on the in the Gulf, and we finally took our family. And then it just rained all day. Well, they were asleep because I'm a mom to boys, and so I'm the only girl. And when it rains, they sleep. So I got on, and I just happened to at the time have all my photos. I'd just been really working on my profiles and what I wanted to do. And I kind of had a vision of where I wanted to go. And if I'm going to do this, it's not going to be halfway. I'm going to go all the way. And I'll tell you, from the time I can remember consciousness, I've always thought I was a superstar. I just needed to prove it on paper.
I like her. This is my person.
I've always walked in the room like I'm a movie star. And I kind of suck all that energy out of a room anyway. I just had never proved it before. And so I thought, well, I'm going to prove it.
Not my person.
Yes.
We are the same person.
Yeah.
So
Also,
I applied.
three boys too.
Yeah, great. So I applied to be on Next Level Chef while everybody was sleeping. Anybody who's ever applied for a reality show, it is arduous. It is a 4-hour application. And if you pause for 5 minutes, it erases, it goes back to the beginning.
Oh no.
And you have to immediately submit all your pictures, all your taglines, all your hashtags, all your website. You have to have everything ready. So just applying for something like this weeds out a lot of people. But there are 72,000 applicants. And out of the 72,000 applicants, the 15 of us were chosen by an amazing casting crew. Gordon Ramsay Productions and Fox Network are phenomenal to work with. I was blown away at just the talent, the professionalism. They're nice. They're so nice. Everyone was wonderful. And so it just took them 6 months to lots of Zoom interviews, lots of coaching, lots of things that kind of weed you out. Yeah. And then you have to do a psychological evaluation to make sure you can take the rigors of the scripted reality stuff, and then a physical test, because we were literally working, 14, 15 hours a day. You shoot every day, 2 competitions a day. There's no time to recover. You don't get a lot of food. You don't get, you're wrangled. If one person is with you the whole time, they walk you to your hotel, lock you in, come and pick you up the next morning, walk you to the set. It's very, very, especially because it's season 1. So it was the OG season. We're in this big anonymous white tent in Vegas. Nobody knows what we're doing. Nobody knows who's rolling in and out of there, because you don't know if it's going to make it or not. You don't know. So you can't really, it was very different from what they're getting to do on season 2 and season 3. I'm a little salty about it. They're having a lot of fun on 2 and 3. But it's a great competition. And I mean to tell you what, I'm going to tell you, I was in love with Naisha Arrington, Chef Arrington, before I even got there. I wanted on her team. I'm all about girl power, girl empowerment, girls being strong. And she's the epitome of that. And then she's this phenomenal chef. And I'll tell you what, I went down that basement and I was with Gordon, the first cook-off. And then big blue eyes got right in my face, started talking to me about kale, and I didn't know what to say. But I'll never forget, as long as I live, when Naisha tasted my lamb dish and she got that look and that grin on her face, and she looked at me like, I knew she was going to pick me on her team when she did that. I knew it. I was like, yes, I just want to be on Naisha's team. So
that's
so tell us about Gordon. He comes off as rough and like in your face and all that, but what's he really like to be around?
Well, I really related to him. I really like him. He's a genius. He's an absolute TV genius. So you see him in his boot camp shows, and people just kind of know him for, the donkey sandwich. But that's the boot camp end of it. So that you're supposed to be that way. Like, that's the TV of it. And with us being chefs and them being mentors, his coaching came out of him, and he is that passionate. He is that in your face. He does get mad when you do something you know better than to do, and you're not focused, you're not concentrated. But he's an athlete by nature, and chefing and cooking is very athletic, mentally and focus wise, and what we do. So he's all those things, but in this very supportive, loving way. It's especially with the adults. You see him with the kids, and you realize what a great guy is. But really, adults need to be pushed, and it is a competition, and you do need to focus. And it's what gives the competition and the reality the edge. He's really a TV genius. He's a culinary genius. He's a entrepreneur genius, and then he's freaking like 6'4" or 6'5". He's huge.
Oh, wow, I didn't realize
like
that.
I'm not a little girl. I'm corn fed. I got some meat on me. And at one point in the basement, they were doing something, and the producers came on and said, "Gordon, could you move your arm? You're covering up Angie." I mean, his bicep was covering me up. Like, he's huge. He's just this
I did
huge
not know
guy.
that.
Yeah, I didn't realize
I
that.
did
Yeah.
not know
The
that.
TV doesn't do him justice for what an athletic guy he is. But and so that's intimidating, you know. But I loved every second I had with those guys, and I really liked Gordon.
Yeah.
And our personalities are a lot like that. When I'm cooking and we're in the heat, I'm a caterer. So every single day it's a competition to beat the time. You know, with food, and when you're catering for 250 people, you're catering for 150 people, food can only hold for at the most 2 hours. So my life is a competition. My team is don't cook the food yet. Get the food in the warmer, get it in the cameras, get it there on time. It's still got to be good. It's still got to be salty and acid, but it can't be at 135 for more than 2 hours. So I feel like that's what caterers do so good on competitions.
Yeah.
Is because we know what food does when it sits. And so one thing about this competition is you have to remember they're not tasting it 5 minutes after we cook it. It's not coming off the line.
Yeah.
It's sitting on the platform. It has to go across the set. And maybe 35, 40 minutes later is when they're tasting it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's the difference between a line cook and a caterer.
Yeah.
A line cook, you're eating a line cook's food 3 or 4 minutes after they cook it. A caterer, you're eating my food an hour and a half after I cook it. So it has to leave the kitchen a little more acidic and a little more salty and a little underdone. But you have to know at what point.
Yeah, it'll finish. Yeah.
So if you'll notice on these competitions, caterers do very, very well in these competitions.
Huh, that's interesting. Yeah. I wondered that. I wondered how long it took for them to taste it, like before it got there. And
it's like 30, 40 minutes. Yeah, they look at it immediately. Okay. They look at it immediately and they judge it immediately. But then for it to get there to where we can reset up and them actually taste, it's like 30, 40 minutes.
Huh, interesting. So two things a day. And so this whole entire show is like, it takes how long to film?
About 21 days. It was about 21 days. Yeah.
Okay. And
no days off, straight, just work.
So at the end of the first, competition, and you've got all these half-eaten plates, do y'all get to taste each other's food?
We do. We did get to taste each other's food because there's a few minutes of lag time, to wrangle us back up and get us back down. And so, and then also we're hungry.
Yeah,
and
that's
then,
what I was thinking. I was
and also that platform is the best of the best of the best food.
Yeah,
it's such good food.
Yeah.
So I'm going to be honest with you. We was like stolen a little bit. Like on top of competing, we were putting things in our aprons and in our pockets. And then we were like walking back to the green room. I will never forget Courtney. Courtney's amazing. She's an amazing lady. And she and I are about the same age. And I think we're like a year apart. Yeah. And we were walking and she straight up pulled a seared scallop out of her pocket. She's like, "You want a scallop?" And I'm like, "Yeah." Yeah. And so on top of the competing, on top of everything else, we all had food stashed in our pockets and in our I stole some truffles.
Okay, this is awesome because our middle son is a big football player. And when he was in high school, when we would go to like Mexican food places, he would put fajita meat in his pockets.
I love this kid.
Oh, on homecoming, with his homecoming day.
Oh yeah, for sure.
He was like, I wouldn't have eaten. And he would just come home and just be eating meat out of his pocket.
Like Napoleon Dynamite, pocket cuts.
So even super chefs do it.
Yeah,
so Jake's
that's right.
Oh, 100%.
I mean,
okay.
100%. And then we had like a lot of times the platform had alcohol on it. Like, so you could cook with tequila or vodka or some wine straight up in the deli cups. I'd be like grabbing stuff I didn't need just so I could pour some tequila in the They'd finish filming and I'd be like,
done. Oh my gosh. That is so funny.
Yeah. No, it was a blast. It was very, and the thing about the working hard and the way they do it, the way they keep you is true stress and true like emotion doesn't translate onto TV like it should. So they have to push you. And so that's the thing about scripted reality. It is reality. The competition, man, they're strict. The lawyers are there, videos, timing. It is a competition and they have to stay on point or it's not fair. Yeah. But the working as hard as we work weeds people down. And so the great equalizer. So you've got chefs there that are executive chefs. They're out of 72,000 applications. We've got line chefs who are executive chefs at the top of their game cooking. And then you've got little old me. Well, the equalizer is the platform, the pressure, and the fatigue.
Yeah,
and true. So people ask, how is a social media chef, a home cook, and an executive chef who's at the top of their game competing? And it's because the great equalizers are all that pressure.
Yeah.
And no matter what a great line cook you are, you might not be able to take the fatigue and the pressure.
Pressure, yeah.
Speaking of pressure, there was a moment, that's the funniest moment on season 1. When the stress got to you, you've got to tell us, why did you pick the lobster? That was hilarious. You're like, it was like an out of experience or something.
So funny.
Yeah.
Like, I'm a jerk. She's a jerk.
Yeah, whatever personality that was, because I got several personalities. I mean, I never have to worry about my husband wanting a different wife, because he's got a different one like every other week. Yeah, he's had about 7 wives over the last 20 years, so that's good. Well, I'll tell you my strategy. I'm not an overthinker, and I'll tell you this. I know I'm a great chef. I know I can cook, and I can cook anything. I know how to feel the texture of a meat, even if it's something I haven't cooked before. I know there's something, I don't know what my talent is. I don't know how God gave this to me, but I know how to cook stuff. I know, and I taste things a lot. I taste, I feel, I touch. I don't do a lot of poking around with thermometers and stuff. And I'll tell you my strategy. Get the best thing on there. Get the best thing, and then get it back to your station and figure it out.
Yeah.
And so one of the things is the things are labeled, but I don't read well, and I don't read fast. So looking at the signs was not a thing for me. So I had to decide, I have 30 seconds, don't read. Grab the best thing you can grab. And you know what? That live lobster just came down to that basement, and the best piece of meat on that platform was a live lobster.
Yeah.
So that's what went in my pocket.
I don't even know if I would know how to cook a live lobster.
And I kept deciding, I'm like, this is on TV. This is on live TV. How am I going to kill this? I'm going to have to kill this thing, not live TV, but like people are going to watch me kill this lobster. So I put it off to the last minute. And one of the things that edited out was Naisha kept walking by going, girl, you got to kill the lobster. And then she would go, how are you going to kill that lobster? I'm like, I'm going to stab it in the head. And she's like, girl, what are you going to do with that lobster? Like, it was several passes. Like,
That's funny.
You know how she gets worried, like, why are you doing? So I finally, they didn't air it, thank God. But I finally, because in the basement, we just had those little pots. Yeah. So I had to break the lobster down. And then one thing I did know about lobster is the tail cooks different than the claws. Like they cook at different rates. And so it's better to cook a lobster broke down. Okay. Yeah, no, that was, you know, I'm just going to grab the best. And then, you know, one of Wolfgang Puck's sayings is get the best ingredients and then don't F it up.
Oh, okay.
So that was.
Okay. And that's what you did.
Yeah, I just always grabbed the best of the best that I could grab. And that's how that lobster ended up on that. And it was crawling and everything.
I know, I saw it moving. I was like, oh goodness.
It was really bad.
Yes.
And then she's like, what do you do with that lobster? I don't know. I live in Lubbock. Like we had to dig our own lakes in Lubbock. Like there's something.
I'm like, you were in the middle of Texas, not on the coast, you know, like you're not. Yeah.
We're up on one of the highest elevations in the world, flattest. We have haboobs. The only other place that has haboobs is Egypt. Like there's no seafood here.
No.
There's nothing here.
No. There's cattle, maybe.
I mean, the dish I really messed up and I thought I was going to have to go elimination was that sole. And that's that. Y'all didn't see all the edits. After I spilled hot water on Naisha. Sorry, Chef Arrington. I was trying to get I didn't know how to do that sole. What is sole? Stupid fish. I don't know. No, I panicked. I grabbed like 3 fingerling potatoes and I was cooking them and I dropped 2 of them, turned to get them off the floor, stepped on them, had 1 purple fingerling for that whole. So,
my gosh.
My God. Yeah, that was bad. I had the 2 bad dishes, the brunch and the sole.
Yeah. Oh, wow. That's crazy. I mean, it's still impressive. Grab the freshest thing and do what you can. And I mean, you successfully did that on repeat, girl.
Thanks.
I'm highly impressed. Okay, so you have like you're home alone. What do you eat?
What's your favorite go-to? Like
it's always steak. It's always steak. I could eat steak and eggs for breakfast. I could go to a Mexican food place and have steak and shrimp for lunch, and then I could have a ribeye for dinner.
Yeah.
100%. And a Lipitor before I go to bed. but no, my specialty is definitely steak. And then if you ask me to cook dinner, now for health reasons and stuff, a lot of times we're throwing chicken thighs and veggies in a pan. We do keto and anti-inflammatory and things like that. But definitely if the family's coming over, we have steak
Yeah.
of some kind. We love a good prime rib. We love a ribeye roast. We love a tenderloin. Yeah.
Where do you get your meat from?
Oh man, that's a
Tell,
loaded question.
tell me.
So the special thing that I'm doing on private dinners and pop-ups right now is I serve a F4 Australian Wagyu.
Oh,
And so it's 50% Japanese A5 and 50% the Australian Gold. So it's called an F4 because it's 50-50.
yeah.
Excuse me. What a lot of people don't realize about the US, you can go to like stores and you can go to butchers and they have a Wagyu. Here's what's odd about that to me. We haven't allowed Japanese A5 genetics in this country since 1997.
Hmm.
But between 1967 and 1997, we did have the Japanese A5 Wagyu here. However, since 1997, we have not. So I don't think that any Wagyu we're selling here in America is more than 2%.
Wow.
And I'm a fifth generation Texan, and we have cattle. We have a ranch. So
Yeah.
I love Texas cattle. And I'm not, I mean, and then there's some people that in the South Texas that are having they have Wagyu.
Yeah.
But what I get a lot of, and what I'm trying to educate people on, is I get a lot of people going, well, Wagyu's overrated. Yes, if you're going to HEB and spending $3 more a pound for that Wagyu versus just a really good, ribeye they got going on, look at the marbling, look at the meat, decide whether it's worth that $3. Because all that's happening with the genetics we have here in the States is we may be getting a little more marbling. What a lot of people aren't understanding is Wagyu, Japanese A5 Wagyu, tastes different. There's a flavor profile there that it will ruin you. You won't want any other thing ever. And then Australia has just this amazing beef. And then their lands that their beef graze off of are just so pure and has so many vitamins that the meat tastes good. So when you cross and you get that Japanese A5 marbling and flavor with that Australian gold, and you get that true 50-50, girl, you just don't even know. And so I have a vendor ships it to me fresh from Australia.
Wow.
Yeah, it takes about 22 to 24 hours to get to my doorstep, never been frozen. I break it down. I order the whole 7 ribs, the total tomahawks, and I harvest all the fat, and I make tallow out of that. And then
what do you use your tallow?
What
do you use your tallow for?
So I use the tallow for searing the beef so that I don't use any other kind of fat. But then I also will put lavender in it and use it on my lips and my elbows and my feet and stuff.
That's what I use on my face. I use tallow on my face.
Yeah. Oh yeah. But this Japanese A5 is freaking phenomenal. And I get a lot of the Japanese A5 from Japan as well. But like the drunken sirloins and if you've ever seen a true one, they're just white.
Yeah.
And they fry a lot like bacon. And so they're very rich. They're very tasty. I do a lot of Japanese cherry blossom soy with that. So I'm doing a lot of Southern Japanese fusion is really what I'm doing here.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, what are you mainly catering? What do you cater? Because I'm trying to figure out how to be invited to an event.
Okay. Well, you're invited to an event. You're officially invited. I'm going to get you here to Lubbock. So I have a couple of different factions of my catering. One of them that keeps us busy anywhere from 1 to 7 events a day is I am the exclusive banquet caterer for Cotton Court here in Lubbock, which is a hotel. It's a real bougie, high-end kind of boutique hotel owned by Valencia Group Hotel. And so I have a whole team. We're constantly, it's literally 1 to 7 events a day, Monday through Saturday. They're over there catering now. So, and then I do my private chef. I do big catering, plated catering. So we'll go into the different big events at the Texas Tech Museum or a big venue, and we'll do plated events. I think the biggest one we've done was 450. And so I have a huge team. I have an amazing team. I've spent 4 years building this very specialized group of people that's hard to do.
That's amazing.
Anybody, when I walk around and I see people with a very good team, I just try to soak up all their knowledge at all times, because it's been the hardest thing I've ever done in my life is own a business, become an entrepreneur, become a CEO, while at the same time trying to be a creative executive chef and come up with curate new menus. And it's very hard to be artistic and then go over here and go, how am I going to pay the bills?
Exactly.
Yeah.
How am I going to pay? And the biggest thing with culinary is a turnover. And so I'm trying to keep this team from turning over. But especially in catering, you have slow seasons and fast seasons. And so what I found out the first year of business is, well, I'm losing my staff during the slow season because they got to go have another job, and they're finding, several different jobs here and there, and then they're not coming back to me during the busy season. So I had to start picking up work to at least keep my staff busy and keep us training and keep us on point. And then the next hard thing was finding a chef so that I can go do these shows and film and go do the celebrity aspect of what I'm trying to pull off here. And it took me 4 years to find somebody who could cook beside me.
Wow.
And who could produce what I need produced. And I found him. He's from Atlanta, and he's a badass too.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And
Yeah.
so he literally just kind of, when you say you found a chef for you, he's creating what you have envisioned.
Well, yes. So he's cooking my menus, but here it is. It's a personality type. Here's the thing. I can teach anybody anything, but when I talk about the palate and knowing, and so he came along and worked beside me literally for 3 or 4 months. And he was the only one who's ever picked up everything I'm saying, when to salt things, how to salt things. Why do we add a little vermouth to our broccolini? Why do we do this? Why do we do that? And taste it. And I would taste it and go, this is how it needs to taste. He would taste it and go, okay. And then the next time he made it, I would taste it and he did it.
Okay. Yeah.
And so you can't teach that.
Yes.
That is a born in skill to us to taste something together and him go, yes, him remember that. And when he cooks it the next time, I'm like, yes. You did it.
Yes. I can totally relate to this because I'm a hairdresser, like I told you, 34 years. And same thing, like creatives, you work off of once, like I always tell the girls that I apprentice, I'm like, you got to be able to cut a straight line, and then you have to be able to style hair. Like that's the art side. You've got geometry and art and science. Like you've got to be able to do it all,
Yeah.
And if you can get those 3 things together, then you'll be successful. And that's exactly what you're talking about, like working off of the sides of your brain, basically.
Yeah, it's been the hardest thing in my life. I've got some new information for you. You want some DL?
Yeah.
You want to know something that nobody knows yet?
Tell us.
What's that?
Okay, so I'm going on another show in July.
Okay.
And we're filming it in July. But it's very interesting. It's completely outside my wheelhouse.
Okay.
So they approached me as a top culinary startup entrepreneur. So it's called The Blocks, and it airs on Prime, and then they have their streaming. And so I'm competing as an entrepreneur.
Okay.
Not as a chef.
Okay.
That's cool.
That is very cool. Yeah. I can't.
And so I'm very nervous about that because it's not the thing I do well.
Yeah.
I can outcook anybody, sorry to say.
No
But
pressure, Rebecca.
Oh, there's no doubt I'm getting destroyed, but I'm just going to soak it all in.
You'll learn for next
drop
time.
it on the ground.
Yeah.
I'm going to learn.
I'm so clumsy. You never know when I'm gonna drop stuff. I drop stuff all the time. I dropped a $600 ribeye on the ground the other day at a client's house on their patio. We're flaming it. And so I was just doing my show, and I grabbed the bone and I flipped it, and it did a little bounce and went right onto the concrete.
Oh, no. 600. Yeah, no kidding.
And then just like poured some cognac on it and fired it back up.
That's right. Yeah. That'll
really,
pop off. Yeah.
10-second roll. You're fine.
Right. It was a private party, and they were all laughing. I'm like, guys,
Yeah. Real life.
I meant to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why didn't you catch the steak, dude?
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Okay,
That's
so we
hilarious.
mentioned it. Y'all are going to be doing a cook-off. Next time we see you in person, it's going to be a cook-off between you two.
Okay.
So, Rebecca, how do you feel about that? I'm trying to
Okay.
I'm getting a little interview here. I'm trying to get y'all.
I'm gonna be honest.
Yeah.
Before I met her today, before speaking directly with her, I mean, I know my way around a kitchen. I think that I am kind of always shocked when people just don't kind of know things about like how things cook or how to do this or how to.
That's
I mean, there's
me.
there's
Yeah.
people that don't know how to do that at all, and I guess I'm kind of always. I'm like, I know my way around the kitchen. I don't know half of what she just talked about. I'm going to be very confused on the whole pallet situation. I mean, I feel like I've worked on that muscle as we've talked, but I still think I'm going down.
Okay.
I think you're going to have a lot of fun because here's a little secret about me. I don't compete in a hateful way. I'll help you.
Okay, good.
I'll help you.
Okay.
If you're like, hey, this, that, and the other, if you'll be come taste them, I'll come taste it and go need salt. Like
Okay.
when I compete,
So you're competitor and mentor is what you are for me.
well, yeah. And so we'll have a lot of fun. And I know, I remember in the basement, that first cook-off we did, and Royce forgot his protein.
Yep.
Well, I had that super long lamb loin. I asked Gordon if he could have half my loin.
Oh, really?
I was like, dude, we're like we weren't competing to get kicked off. We were competing to get picked. And I was like, can I give Royce some of my loin? And even another chef down in the basement, I can't remember who, said, hey, I have extra meat. And the producers decided, no, we can't do that. No, I never want to win. I can win because I'm that good.
Yeah.
And so I'm always helpful and fun.
Yeah. That won't be the case. I love you, Angie. I'm the biggest trash talker in the world. Like,
oh, that'll be fun. I love it when people trash talk me.
But
no matter if you can back
no
up.
matter if I can back it up or not. Yeah, I'm just gonna talk trash. So
got it. I take that well, and I have really cool comebacks.
Okay,
and
good.
I trash talk a little bit, but my trash talk gets very nerdy. Like it gets stupid.
I feel like we're probably about the same age. How old are your kids?
So I have a 24. This year he'll be 24, and in August my youngest will be 14.
Okay.
They're 10 years apart because God's hilarious.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's true.
And I'll be 50 June 7th. I turned 50 June 7th.
Okay, so our oldest is about to be 26, 23, and 21, and I'm 53. So
oh, great. Okay, so we got it.
Her birthday's June 7th. We can celebrate her birthday when she's here.
So true.
Yeah.
There you go. Awesome. Well, I look forward to meeting you in the kitchen, my friend, and learning from you. Honestly, I say I'm a trash talker, but I'm also a good studier as well. So, and I know.
So always, and then I'll give you another hint. So always study your judges, cook for your judges. Yeah. Sometimes in these competitions, chefs get a little bit of hubris and they forget we have to cook for our client. True. And so I noticed on these cooking shows, and even among my castmates, you get an idea in your head and you get to over processing, and you cook something because you think, oh, this is what represents me, and this is and then blah blah blah, and you forget it's Gordon, Aisha, and Blaze.
Yes. What do they like?
Yeah. And so I don't know who our judges will be. Y'all better not stack the judging teams.
I was just gonna say, you're not gonna.
We're gonna know the judges.
You don't know them.
Hmm?
Yeah. How are you gonna?
Well, I'll tell you this. You can. I can determine a lot by people's faces.
Okay.
And how they hold their body and their disposition. And then also if we know what they do in life. Yeah. I feel like that has a lot to do. And I think you can tell by someone's shape.
Yeah.
I mean, a skinny, non-muscular person does not enjoy food. Yeah. You're either a little rotund because you really enjoy your food, or you have to work out like a maniac because you really enjoy your food. Yeah. So I feel like you can look at a body type and go, she's built well, she's a little chubby in the middle, she likes her food. You know, and you can look at a dude who's jacked, but he's judging a competition, and you go, he's jacked because he eats a lot. Yeah. And it is, if he likes to judge food and he's all muscled up, he's not living on protein drinks. That's terrible. Yeah. He's eating steak and potatoes and then going and working it off. Mm-hmm. So I think I do a lot of things like that in my mind. All
right. Well, that's good to know.
It'll be fascinating.
Well, I look forward to seeing you in the kitchen and meeting you in person. I think we're going to have so much fun together. And this has already been so much fun. So we can't wait to get to know you more. Thank you so much for being on Hearty Party of 5 1/2. This is going to be a lifelong relationship. I can tell already.
Absolutely.
Rebecca, I learned more in 20 minutes with Angie about food than I knew in my entire life.
That's right. Well, you mainly just cook mac and cheese really well.
And I cook pizza. If I have a box or directions,
you do.
Or if you send me a recipe off of the interweb, I can do a pretty good job.
You're doing all right.
I'm not the one that's going to like concoct a meal from nowhere. Yes. So, and I learned a new word today.
What's that?
Unctuousness, which I don't know if I said that right still.
I'm not sure you did either.
And I don't know if I'm going to use it right. But I'm going to work on that word, so when I see Angie in person at the cook-off, that might be the first word I say to her. So, speaking of cook-off, how are you feeling about the cook-off as we close in? we're about 2 weeks out now. So how do you feel?
I think I'm relatively nervous about it now that I've met her. I mean, she has a way with words. I mean, she really is good with explaining. Like, I understood the whole palette stuff like I've never understood that before.
I did too.
That was so fascinating. I think I'm most concerned about the layers of flavors. So, you know, I can season things, but I clearly am not using pepper now because she doesn't like that.
Okay, can I just want to add something. I feel better about myself now.
Do you?
Because when
you're not in the challenge? And you're
well, yeah, that for sure.
Okay.
But as far as tasting and all that, I just thought there was something wrong with me because I'm watching these judges and these chefs and like, they just have superpowers. I don't feel bad about myself now.
Now we know it's a thing.
Yeah, I'm a simple person. I'm a one-note kind of taste person. And I'm okay with that. I understand that I don't have superpowers. So.
Right. Well, that's good for you to know.
So how does it feel to be going up against someone who has superpowers, Rebecca?
Unfair. It feels unfair.
Yeah.
But if you don't know, on May 24th, we are going head to head, and we are going to set up a kitchen just like Next Level Chef, as close as we can get it. We're going to do a food grab. We've got dishes we're making. We're going to have a few appetizers there for people that want to come and watch. And it is going to be quite a hoot. And you know that now that you have met Angie. She is phenomenal. We are going to have so much fun together. So you guys stay tuned because it is going to be a showdown in the kitchen.
And I just got to say, I'm Team Rebecca.
Wow.
That's right.
Thanks, babe.
I mean, you're going to lose, but I'm going to cheer for you.
Wow. We should Hardy Party 5.5 over and out.
I hope I see you next time.
Maybe.